Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button, leave a like down below. AEW Fight Forever 2 doesn't make sense. Let's get into it. Alright, so the Video Game Chronicle did an interview with one of the lead developers over there at Ukes, and he couldn't really answer like the things we all are dying to know, like how did the game sell? Are they still working with AEW? Are they going to make more content for the first game? Are we going to get a sequel? What's going on over there? He couldn't comment on any of that, but he does go into like he jumps around some of the questions when it comes to AEW, but he does answer some stuff, and I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to go read it. But I wanted to talk about, based off this article, why a sequel doesn't really make sense. Now let's get into that real quick. All right, so I wrote down about, I want to say 5 things. So let's get into this. So number 1, fan base has plummeted since the first game. The audience might not be there anymore, especially after feeling robbed by the first game. Now the first game is a very fun game to play, but not for long. Maybe for a quick match or two here and there, but unlike the 2K monster that has all of its bugs and issues, the 2K series has enough content to keep you busy for, in my opinion, an entire console generation. There is so much crap to do in these games, like especially if you like creating stuff, that you could literally play these games for, I want to say, an entire generation if you wanted to. There are still people playing 2K19 or 2K14's older wrestling games because they don't like the new ones, and because there's so much content to do in those old ones. You could just keep playing it, especially with the universe mode and my GM and all the stuff you can do in these games. They don't need to make a new one every year. So the second thing was, their biggest stars are all gone, in my opinion. Cody, the face of WWE, letting Cody slip through his fingers, what a brain dead thing. I mean, hindsight 22 or whatever, but who would have thought he'd end up becoming the one to beat Roman's title reign, or end it, I should say, and become literally the face of the company. Nobody saw that coming. Like, holy crap. I'm glad it happened, because I like Cody Rhodes. I feel like they haven't really booked him very well since he's won the championship, but he's a good champion regardless. And then we got Punk. CM Punk was probably, will be, and forever will be, whatever you want to say, the biggest draw for AEW that they'll probably ever have in the life of their company. The only other person I could think bringing in that big of a pop or a fan base or viewership, merchandise sales, would be someone like Roman Reigns going over there. Because Roman's a huge megastar. He's probably the biggest star in wrestling right now because of the way he's built up this bloodline thing. I mean, it's pretty sad that Roman Reigns, in my opinion, is probably a bigger star than Cody because of everything that he's done in the last 4 or 5 years. And Cody's your champion. You don't want the guy that's not champion to be bigger than your champion, if that makes sense. So the fact that Cody is gone, Punk is gone, and Jade, one of your biggest female superstars, is gone. Even Kenny doesn't really wrestle anymore. I mean, to be full disclosure, I haven't watched the product very much since Punk left, so I don't even know what's going on over there anymore. But having a really good video game would interest me to go back and check it out. The fact that the game didn't land so poorly kind of turned me off of the show too, because it reminds me of how bad the game was, what could have been. Anyway, so the company, they have like really good wrestlers, they have really good stars, but the way they book them in between pay-per-views makes no sense. Like these storylines, they're starting to get better with some of them, but some others were like, what's going on? Like the Swerve and Hangman Page, that was chef's kiss. That was amazing. I'm not a fan of the cinder block spots and weird trying to kill each other, but overall it was very, very good, very well done. Let's see here. Number 3. Who would want to make the game? Unless AEW gets the interest back and brings back fans in a big way, what company would want to take the risk making a sequel if not Ukes? Ukes really is the only option for a sequel in my opinion, but even they might say no because of the current state of the company and maybe potential bad blood that they have with AEW. I mean, they're going to have to get an ironclad contract up front to ever make a sequel. So what I mean by this is, like, you know, with all the layoffs and risks that developers are terrified to make now, because if a game doesn't sell, that could tank an entire company and put them out of business. Like, I don't want to give any examples because I don't want to spark a conversation about, certain topics on this channel. This is a wrestling channel. But anyway, certain games developers are very, very scared to try things that aren't guaranteed money, so to speak. The fourth thing, in the opposite argument to what I just said, if the sequel blows up at launch, that would greatly encourage fans to come watch the real show. Little fun story real quick is that's how I fell in love with wrestling. I was a casual wrestling fan back in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. It wasn't until I played the first SmackDown game and really started getting into the games where I started to watch the show religiously. I haven't stopped watching WWE ever since the first SmackDown game. So what's funny is a lot of people were wrestling fans and then they buy the games. It was the opposite for me. I watched it, occasionally when my parents would let me, because they were religious and didn't like me watching violence and stuff. So I would sneak and watch it with my brother. So I missed a lot of the stuff in the late 80s and 90s because I couldn't watch it every single week or every single show. But they let me watch big stuff like The Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. It wasn't until, I want to say, the original SmackDown game back in 2000, the year 2000, is when I really started getting into wrestling. And then I went and tried to go do it for real. So my love of wrestling comes from the video games. And that's proof right there that if you have a hit killer wrestling game, even if people aren't wrestling fans, they're like, oh man, I gotta go check out this show. This game's awesome. You can create fans that way also. In my opinion, the best thing AEW can do right now is to market the living fudge out of the wrestlers in other games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Street Fighter, Tekken, hell, anything and everything willing to work with them. Hell, team up with Ultra Pro Wrestling. Put some AEW wrestlers in that game right away. Get eyeballs on AEW, get them over to the show. Boom. Especially if Ultra Pro Wrestling blows up like we're all expecting it to. And the wrestling code. Get AEW wrestlers. You don't have to put the entire roster in these games. Just put in like some of your top stars just to get eyeballs on AEW. It's like, oh wow, these guys are from AEW. I gotta go check that out. These wrestlers are awesome. I feel like after they do that, after they get a foothold or a footprint in the gaming industry, if that makes sense, that's the only way a sequel would sell, in my opinion. So my closing thoughts would be, it won't matter how much money Tony Khan throws at a sequel. The fact that the first game is so unfinished and missing so much content that has become a standard in wrestling games since the PS2 era, it'll fail again if they don't build that brand back up and earn the trust of the fans. In fact, it might be better just to go back and add more content to the first game, like creation parts, new match types, community creations, better counter system, a pin and submission system, everything that we've been asking for, and they have that giant spreadsheet. Also, after that, they have to focus on that first, otherwise adding more wrestlers won't mean anything. But after that, they could add in wrestlers that are missing, big wrestlers that they got added to the roster, like Mercedes, Mina, all of them. And then start that Forbidden Door content and add in a ton of New Japan wrestlers and arenas and titles and all that stuff before WWE 2K does. I feel like 2K is going to try to get that in the next couple games. I feel like now that Vince is gone, that rule is out the window where you can only focus on WWE unless TKO has that same mentality. Why not get a partnership with, I mean, they're already working with TNA. WWE is. We could see TNA wrestlers or a TNA crossover pack in next year's game. How awesome would that be? So I feel like there's a huge opportunity here for AEW to really like get on the ball and fix that first game, because until they do, I don't think a sequel is going to do absolutely anything. Anyway, these are just some thoughts I had. I figured I'd share them with you guys. How do you guys feel about this? Would you buy AEW Fight Forever 2, considering how lackluster the first game was as far as content is concerned? Or would you prefer them to go back to the first game and add in all that content that we've been asking for since day one? Sound off the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay frosty.
And visible.